LinkedIn heading also, I am very precise on saying non-profit is a way. And I strongly believe it, especially in healthcare and also in the education. Non-profit is a way. People who are competent and in this amazing country still they are not able to hold on to their career. And this is not some career, it's healthcare. They're chosen because they want to serve. They are compassionate beings. Oneness is humanity. And we should feel that all for one, one for all.
I love that.
So that's where the oneness comes into a place.
And welcome to the All of You podcast, everyone. This is the podcast where we sit down with all of you. And today we are extending the olive branch to a new friend of mine, relatively new, Syed. Syed is the CEO of the Oneness Education Foundation, and I am thrilled to be sitting here with him today. Welcome, Syed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh my goodness, this isn't an opportunity. I feel like this is a catch-up that we desperately needed to have. We haven't. When did we see each other last?
We easily more than 2 months.
Yeah.
That should be.
Yeah, for change leadership. Yeah. So tell me, what was it about our sort of LinkedIn connection that made you want to extend the olive branch for us to have the opportunity to meet on Zoom? Because it was something that we had talked about, and then it took a little bit for us to make it happen, but then it did, and everything's history now. So what was it about LinkedIn that made this happen?
I would say the very first thing was that you being consciously supporting the IEHPs. You understanding that the IEHP play a role, which is internationally educated healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
They play a role in terms of supporting this amazing healthcare system. And it's a responsibility of the immigrants to understand that they should step up. But we forgot, I would say, in the last 3 to 4 years, we tend to accept the defeat that this country is so hard. Nothing is going to change. But there are very few amazing leaders, one like you, who's been always vocal and try to share and spread the positivity, telling that we can still do it. So I have seen a couple of your bold posts.
Yeah, very bold. But at first you were a little bit bold, yeah.
No, actually.
And then they got me shadow banned on LinkedIn for a period of time. But all I was doing was calling in the government to say, hey, louder for the people in the back. What's going on? Why do I have hundreds of young professionals, capable, passionate, dedicated professionals coming to me every 4 months in a semester, struggling to get themselves in a position in healthcare? The Einstein definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I felt like every semester I was doing the same thing over and over again, and I wasn't seeing any kind of proof that I was helping people. I just felt like...
What do you mean? I would say personally at your level, I could see a lot of students who are ending up in the healthcare field. They are thanking you and they are acknowledging the effort what you put in. I know my colleague, Dr. Vidita, she's a student.
Oh, yeah.
And she used to be always just keep on talking highly of you, pointing stuff about you.
Yeah.
And I would say that personally, you shouldn't be hard on you, Shannon. You shouldn't be. You are doing your job as such. And just now, after talking to Ryan also, I could see that how you transferred from clinical to, in terms of education aspect. And that's your calling. And I could see that why you moved is because people are getting benefit out of it. You can see that actually people are ending up in their field. Sorry to say.
I guess what I mean is like every semester I felt like I was having the same conversations and I didn't have the power to fix these problems, but I felt like it was almost insane for me to just every 4 months, I needed a recording of, have you thought about doing this? And have you been volunteering? And have you heard about this state? Like there were just so many things that I felt like I needed an audio recording every semester to say, this is kind of a checklist that I would recommend for you to follow. And I know that it's not as simple as a checklist, but when you had reached out to me, I was like, what is the CEO doing reaching out to me? Like, what is happening? This CEO the Oneness Education Foundation. And I was really nervous for a Zoom call. Because I didn't know I had no idea what to expect. See, you were one of the first people who extended the olive branch. And because I'm so new to this, and I've been locked away in a hospital tower for the last 12 years of my life, integrating myself into this landscape business, right? And selling yourself and, trying to put yourself out there in a different way. You were one of the very first people that I met with. Well,
that Zoom call, I could clearly see that you've been holding up so much, I would say, thought process, that Zoom call, you've been just not waiting your thought, not like that, but you've been able to communicate that you are serious on what you are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
On that call, I decided that I told the shaman many times, I thought on that call, I should follow the shaman and take her in Oneness Education Foundation.
Yeah.
Or that kind of passion I would see. I met more than 100 Canadians who are currently in field, but I never seen someone as passionate as you. So I thought that I should be inviting you and making you a director, trusting you to be director for Oneness Education Foundation. In fact, I went to India and I did, and there I thought Dr. bring you after.
We got sick in India. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting in India and I'm talking to my mom. I think so I was having mango. In Indian, summer mango is the best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you put salt or anything on it? Oh, yeah.
It's just a pure bliss. And I'm just going on LinkedIn. I could see the children is making a huge fools. She is sharing about
I know. And during that Zoom call, I could tell that you were kind of fishing a little bit. And I knew what was going on, but I wasn't ready to tell anyone. I wasn't ready to put it out into the universe yet. Like, there was only a handful of people who knew that I was talking to the lawyers. There was only a handful of people who knew that, like, that I had invested in this scammer website or situation. But everything was in the works when you and I met, and it was maybe a week shy of me feeling like I was prepared to talk about it, and it just happened to be the timing of you being in India.
Sure.
And then you probably came back thinking, what is this great?
But then I realized, but initially, even though I wish for that to happen, so after I came back from India, when I met Shannon, we had a second Zoom call. Mm-hmm. And in that Zoom call, you shared your document. Mm-hmm. And that's something bold of, again, Shannon, to share her strategic planning document. And when I gone through that, I realized that what she is doing is, I would say, more impactful than what I'm trying to do. In a way that that kind of mentality, that we need it as such, and you are trying to lend your helping hand to all the youth and all the youngsters as such. And that mentality is, I would say, even I would take it. The moment you start your program, right, I'm telling that even I should take the program so that I would understand that what kind of mentality I must have, because we all need resilience. We all need that as such. And we need someone like who been in this field for 20 years. So
24 years I worked in healthcare. Yeah, see, the first job I ever had at 14 years old was in a nursing home, like a long-term care home. And I've never really done anything different than work in healthcare. So I feel almost like my imposter syndrome kind of really gets activated, because this is something that I've done my whole life. It doesn't feel like I don't want to say that it doesn't feel like I'm trying, but I just feel like healthcare came so naturally to me, and the transition of moving into leadership in healthcare came so naturally to me because I grew up in healthcare. Like, my mom was an administrator in a long-term care home, so call it nepotism or whatever you want to call it, but like, I took a good hard look at my career journey, especially, last year. I had, a number of health complications, and I took this director job that I thought was going to be, the answer for me. And it wasn't the answer. And so I took a good hard look at my career, and I thought, like, I haven't struggled once in my career. Every opportunity that has come up my way has been because I met the right person, or somebody saw something in me, or they recommended me, for something. And semester after semester, this insane situation I found myself in, having conversations with people who were struggling so deeply. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's easy. Why are these people struggling so much? How ignorant, right? How ignorant. And so that's why I felt like it was so important for me to have a better understanding of what people who are much more, how do I put this? Like they're underprivileged. I feel like I have, all of the perks in the world and, everything kind of handed to me as a young, professional. And I was working at UHN at 25, and now I see people who are, late 20s, early 30s in my classrooms, and they can't even get a job at, a mall or a fast food place. And that is just unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to me because these people are brilliant and they made one of the biggest risks that a person can possibly make, in my opinion, is relocating yourself to another country. So that was something that I actually wanted to talk to you about, is understanding your decision to come to Canada, why Canada, and, maybe kind of gives me an understanding of where you come from, why people would choose to come to Canada over another part of the world.
For sure. I asked that question even day to me. How was that every single day? But before that, Shanna, I would like to first of all address your previous comment on how you got all the blessing as such, but I would say you are qualified for it.
Mm.
It's not like it's a blessing in a way that you put your soul onto it. Mm. And you did your hard work. In turn, you got it. I don't want to...
This is my imposter syndrome. This is I didn't do anything. Everyone else did everything. Yeah, no, it's a very real thing. I sit here all the time and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And, and then I have people come up to me. And I'm sure you have the same. When people come up to you and you're like, what you're doing is amazing. And thank you so much for helping. Thank you so much for helping us. And, when I have people come up to me, I think why isn't everyone doing this? Why isn't everyone helping? Why are there more people helping? Because it just feels so discouraging when I have these conversations with young people and they pause and say there's a part of me that sometimes regret that I came here. And I think this shouldn't be it. You shouldn't regret being here. What can I do to fix that? And that's what I feel like it's my duty to fix this for people, because no one should feel like you just made the biggest decision of your life to come to another country to try to build a future for yourselves and make a better, life for your family back home, or whatever your reasons are. You shouldn't have to feel like that huge risk and that huge decision that you made was a mistake. You should feel like you came to a country that supports you and values you and prioritizes your needs to get these people into our system in a way that we can properly utilize their skills and abilities. It seems so straightforward to me, yet it seems like it's such an impossible undertaking. And yeah, so tell me, why Canada? Because the plywood is in Canada, in healthcare especially. You've chose, a sector that has been under fire for the last, 5 years, and you still chose to come here.
So, I would say that it's not like India is such an amazing country. It's not like that we are at the war or something. It's not like we run away from India. So we'll start from just acknowledging that what kind of blessing as India gave it to ourselves. So I think 2008 I started my medical graduate. So I did my MBBS, which is like MD, similar to in Washington. So while doing MBBS, which is for medical, we thought that it's better to explore other countries because of certain things which was not sitting well with us in India. Overall, as it's a good family, it's an amazing country, but certain aspect of it, we thought that it's better to think about it.
I heard your documentation and processes are a little bit old school. You still do a lot on paper and you're only just starting the electronic health record process.
I would say right now, it's also about private hospital. Private hospitals, they have amazing system. Mm-hmm. But in terms of a government system, because it's a huge country,
and millions of people. What is the population? Billion?
I think so, 1.3 billion. Right?
I was going to say billion. Yeah.
So then we thought that I would think about moving to east of India, like Malaysia and Singapore or Middle East. Mm-hmm. But then I realized that for me to get a permanent residency, those countries is a far-fetched option. So I have to always different on getting the work permit. So it's a non-talk.
So it's a lot harder to get PR in those countries.
Yeah. I would say Middle East is impossible. You can never become a PR in Middle East.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Even if you stay there for till you die, still you will just be a PR.
Expat or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
That's the word.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
you had to drive for it. You're like, okay, not there.
then after completing my medical graduate, then I did my residency, and that was on clinical pharmacology. So I chose that consciously, knowing that for clinical pharmacology, it doesn't need any regulatory exam. So if I choose to go anywhere, still I'll be able to start my career, doesn't matter which country I go, in clinical research in academic and pharmaceutical industry. So that was the reason I chose MD in clinical pharmacology. Then after that, I've been practicing in India for close to 4 years. I have my own practice also.
Like a family health team with like that? Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I was having my own clinic, and I was also doing a night shift for the casualty officer, just a ER medical officer. So it was a really busy life. Then I wanted to experience what's up with the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, yeah. Money, then yours.
And I would say after all the government, they spend more money on defense, weapon and everything. But the second most invested department would be pharmaceutical science. So I wanted to learn that how they work, in which way they are able to influence doctors to write their medication. Is that just money alone involved? Is it just a bribe alone, or is there any actual scientific evidence?
Right, yeah.
But how foolish of we. Because once I joined it, no one noticed. No one noticed which is a forefather for the diabetes and insulin.
Oh, okay.
So we all know that it's the University of Toronto, the innovation of, and so we have that and at best.
Yes.
So they initially signed up with no one noticed in India. So right now, no one noticed provide at least 60 to 70% of world insulin.
Oh, wow.
So imagine me getting job over there.
Yeah.
They had an amazing system, global system, national system. So that's when I realized that the amount of innovation, what's happening behind the scene, a general human or general citizen will not understand why they charge certain level they charge. It's more than what we just see at the high level. But again, and this is crazy, Shannon, working in pharma industry. Oh, you travel at least 20 days.
Yeah, I've heard of that, actually. I've heard that people are like, I was only in my home 20 days a year. Like, for the entire year, I was only home.
It was crazy as such. And you start your day at 6 o'clock and you end at night 10 o'clock. Always you're working.
Well, that's my life now. That's your life now. I know that's your life.
But that is supposed to be. You're answering to many people. Okay.
And doctors, too.
Yeah.
So there's,
Yeah, the key opinion leaders and basically boards and all those things. It was such amazing learning, but then I got COVID. Then there was a COVID time.
Yeah.
So it was completely remote. So that's where I learned more about this digital technology and all those things. Then during remote, still because my brother is a doctor, and I was also supporting that here and there during COVID. So we all got sick. Okay. So close to after 4 years, I am actually taking a brainer because being the doctor, working in pharma industry 4 to 5 years, I don't know what's the real world as. It's just work. And being married and having kids and all those things. That time, and I was just scrolling through the YouTube in the hospital. I'm admitted for...
Oh, you were admitted for COVID. Oh, my goodness.
And we were taking all the medication.
Oh, my
antibacterial, antibiotic.
Everything, renting and everything. You were drinking bleach like they were in the States, right? No. What about the bleach? Oh, you know. Well, it's kind of like it's a shroud kid. See, that's there. Holy dude.
That go through.
No, that
well, and all the medications for 4 to 5 days. But that's where I was able to stop a pedal and take a pause and realize that what's happening in the lives. I mean, I was looking into Canada. And that's where I would say first time actually I learned about that is a country, which is Canada, which also provide the permanent residency, which is what we have been looking for. So that's that. But that's where, again, being in the healthcare, I realized that it is going to be really difficult. And there was no express entry drug just happening to the Emigrate. So I came as a student, as you know.
Yeah.
So I took just a 1 year course. And that course is about leadership in healthcare professional.
Yeah.
So I want to learn about the system. And I landed here on 21 September.
2022?
21.
2021? Okay.
Yeah, September.
Mm-hmm.
So after completing one semester, I realized that what currently we are, as you said, for past 4 to 5 years, the healthcare system is completely on fire as such.
Yeah.
When I realized that, so I thought as per Oneness board.
And
Yeah, so 2022, January, we thought that time we didn't register as such.
mm-hmm.
So, but I, as you said about the website,
Mm-hmm.
I spent 3 to 4 weeks completely in me, myself, learning how to.
Yeah, I remember that too. Oh, my goodness. Which for the record, I've taught myself a thing or two, but still to create a website to me, like hats off to you, because building a website is not for the faint of heart, and you want to make sure that you have all of the right information on the website and that it's actually going, to do its job, which is, connect to the right people. And that was actually your website. When I looked at your website, I was like, this kind of legit. Like, I'm meeting with this CEO and his website is, like, I don't know. I just thought I have small peanuts in compared to the Oneness Education.
Look at her. And this is something about it. But we all have our own strength. Just because I'm able to do one thing good, it doesn't just share.
Well, I thought it was really funny, because you said something like, you're really good at things that I'm not good at. Like, I don't remember if it was before the Change conference or something, but I think what you're alluding to is that maybe I had a little bit more of an outward personality, and that the whole concept of leadership from mentorship and like social interaction, and for me, it's not so much about pushing the academic agenda. For me, it's more so, are you able to have a conversation? Are you able to feel comfortable in your own skin walking into a panel interview and, having questions fired at you about your clinical practice and what kind of a leader you are? And we're not talking like role play in a classroom. We're talking this could be your ticket into a, long-term career. So the pressure that's associated with that, I think, is where my approach is more so about the interpersonal development, maybe, whereas yours is, and not to say that either one of us is more right or over the other, but yours is a lot more focused on the credentialing and also creating 100,000 jobs. Can we talk about that? Can you tell me where that came up? Why was it 100,000 jobs? Why wasn't it 1 million?
No, I genuinely think creating job is the most difficult thing, especially in this country. I always admire people who create job. I'm just baffled. And for us to even hire one software developer to build the website, for us to pay them, we know how much we feel that we are going into bankruptcy. We do, right?
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying every day, the money is, there's no money tree here. Like, the money doesn't grow on the olive branch.
It's worse than that. That too, but it's so big. And so that's when I realized that there are many organizations which is providing the guidance, support in terms of the foreign credentialing and the resume writing, cover letter. They are doing an important job. And I'm endorsing them. There's no denial. And there are many organizations which is providing the advocacy also for the IEHPs. Again, as a team of OEF, we share their passion. We completely endorse those organizations. But what we thought is that we shouldn't be doing duplicacy or redundancy. In a way, what OBN is doing also, I have never seen any organizations you are taking on. I have never seen that. So that's where I am like, so that is the innovative thinking. And it is much needed for this era as such. That's where I thought that it's good to join into OBN. Regarding the 100% job, it's a number. And I was looking at a huge organization, they generally have 20,000. So I was looking at this Jordans, they have close to 40,000 to a year.
Right, that they get assurance thing.
Yeah. So I was looking into these things and I was thinking that when you are healthcare, and most of the government hospital, public hospitals is a charity organization. Yeah. And all the colleges or university colleges are charity organization. That's a new thing a bit for me. I didn't realize that. When I'm checking fashion, I'm checking about University of Toronto.
Yeah, the foundation is a big deal. Like, the foundation is where the bulk of the money comes through, because, like, I'm sure you know this by now because you teach it, but our hospitals don't have funding from the government to pay for their equipment and stuff. Like, they have to raise money to buy a new MRI machine. And So that's why even universities, they are charities because they need to buy new tech equipment or new whatever. So, and that was actually what appealed to me too, was the switch for me. But you continue on with the charitable thing.
So that's where I realized that, and if you can see in my LinkedIn heading also, I am very precise on saying non-profit is a way. And I strongly believe it, especially in healthcare and also in the education. Non-profit is a way. And nothing against those millionaires. But the moment we hit, I don't feel comfortable. And this is something that I used to always have a discussion and debate with students. When I tend to say that I don't agree with the millionaires.
I don't either. What the heck are they doing? Hoarding all of their money when there are people starving and disease and it's insane to me.
I'm going to accept that they are better than a symptom of creating joy. At the end of the day, Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. Well, Microsoft fired a few people last week, I think. We've got that might see, but it never done.
Looking up to these people, even though I look up to them, they were able to create that. But still, the number of zeros what they have in bank, it's not something I'm able to acknowledge or accept. So that's where I'm training people also to understand that why non-profit can. Simple example would be, sorry for kidding, but imagine instead of me earning $1 million, if there's going to be 10 other people earning 100,000, then we are changing the complete generation of those families. So I decided that it doesn't matter how OEF is going to grow in the future, because the long-term mission of OEF is to create,
You want to build a hospital. Yeah.
Multiple clinic across Canada. That's the dream asset. And everything's supposed to be obviously focused on based on charity. So when I thought that, okay, we're going to do it properly, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to extend the support for Canadian. And that's where I know this country in a way that the system, as a system, it's amazing compared to where again, nothing to talk about my country. But what I'm able to do here right now, I don't think so I'll be able to do that from echo.
And you've done what you are doing very quickly. Like, can you give a timeline on how things sort of rolled out? Like, when were you like lying awake at night thinking about? Did you have a title for your business already in mind? Like, when was the idea that just sparked all of this?
This is something that I would also say, initial question which you asked, why coming to Canada, you being in the healthcare field. And that's something that the moment I landed here, when I see people who are struggling and driving Uber or working in a gas station, who are a surgeon and who are a doctor, when I see them, I'm like, they accepted their defeat. I would say the right word would be helplessness. They felt helplessness. And I strongly believe that helplessness can be only towards our Creator. In a way that a kid shouldn't feel helpless to a parent. The parent shouldn't feel helplessness towards the kid. The employer to employee, landlord to tenant, vice versa. We shouldn't feel that. The moment you feel helplessness, then that's where the oppressor starts. Then no one likes to be oppressed.
No.
But subconsciously we think that we deserve of the oppression. When that happens is when you feel helplessness. So that's where I thought that this is something scary in the way people who are confident and in this amazing country still they are not able to hold on to their career. And this is not some career, it's healthcare. They chose them because they want to serve. They are compassionate being. And after having that, then they go into the mental health and all those depression and everything. Then they just give up on the dream. That's where I realized that there's something I can do. So I should just try it out, at least to guide from the what the information that we have gained. So I have amazing classmates who are already right now licensed and practicing in Canada. So because I was supporting them in terms of their journey, so I was able to do it, and I was able to help others who are in the similar kind of journey. So that's where oneness comes into place. And if you ask me what is oneness?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, if you ask me what is oneness and why oneness, what do you think? What is oneness?
What is oneness?
And what do you think?
Well, what do I think oneness is? Wow, that's a really good question. Well, in my opinion, because Canada is known as a mosaic of multiculturalism, And like, say, for example, in comparison to the United States, there's this concept of the cultural melting pot, where in the United States, it's the expectation that you melt down and you become like a United States citizen. Whereas in Canada, it's a cultural mosaic of, we're bringing in people from all over the world, and you know, this is what Canada is known for. So when I think of oneness, I think of this cultural mosaic, or what do they call those beautiful sort of mosaic, maybe is the right thing, but I just see oneness as all of these beautiful colors and cultures and ethnicities and backgrounds sort of coming together as one.
That's beautiful, though. And I could see that you love this country, and you even though this is something that we must actually look into it. Even though Shannon talks about what kind of loophole is there in the system, we still should acknowledge the beautiful things, and she is certainly acknowledging why she loves this amazing country.
I mean, I love to travel. I love to get out of the country.
Yeah, but still, you have a good perception.
Yeah.
So, if I have to say what is oneness is humanity. If you see any creation, any living things, I can all see that how harmoniously they tend to live in this amazing world. And what makes human unique as an individual creation, because I tend to go against theory of evolution. That's a discussion for some other day.
Yeah, we made a couple podcast episodes, but like, we'll do a series.
Yeah.
We'll do a series.
Yes, I hope so. So because only human can communicate in a way that where we can store the information and start from where we left out. If you look into an ant, before millions of years, it was still creating the colony. It was still protecting what it's protecting. Same with bees also.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you see humans, they have been keep on innovating and storing the information. If I stopped at 30, next person can start at 31 instead of 0. So that's what makes human as such an amazing human being as a creation. So when I think about it, I want to just acknowledge that the amazing creation as a human, and we should feel that all for one for all.
I love that.
So that's where the oneness comes into a place, and and we also think about in terms of in terms of creator as such. We can be sure that if there is a creator, yes, exactly. The one who created you, the one who created me, the one who created amazing Ryan, it's all same creator.
Yeah.
So there's only one creator. So it just this just on.
And then you threw in education in there. So why not Oneness Foundation? Why Oneness Education Foundation?
That's where helplessness comes into a place. Shannon, if you think about what kind of struggle woman has gone through in the past as a womanhood, and if you see how they were able to empower themselves and be a unmovable force in this world right now. And I have to acknowledge it because I'm a professor right now. I teach, and
same.
Yes. Female students, my God, the fire what they have to be
it's
independent,
incredible.
it's incredible. Kudos to them.
Yes.
So, and if you see the main reason how they were able to empower and lead right now, how they are leading in a way is that certainly education. Education plays a vital role.
Yeah.
And likewise for IEHPs, what they need for them to sustain in this country and grow as amazing healthcare professional would be when they get their license.
Yeah.
So for that, they have to again study and educate themselves. So that's where I wanted to just take because we have a 3 foundation: Oneness Education Foundation, Community Foundation, Research Foundations.
Nice.
It's a 3 different non-profit, and all 3 is registered. We have a different website for all 3 foundation. So this is completely to support the education for IEHPs. So in turn, they'll be able to serve this amazing nation, because this nation needs educated, competent people to support this amazing nation.
I know.
That's where the education comes into place.
I think the thing that kind of leaves a dirty taste in my mouth is, the government has said, we brought 120,000 internationally trained healthcare professionals to the country, but we haven't made the process for them to become, qualified, if that's what you qualified, to work in our healthcare system, because they don't have Canadian experience. Talk to me about that. Why is Canadian experience so important? according to the government.
But again, no, you are kind enough because you see I would say, 20 to 30% of IEHPs who are qualified in terms of right away starting in the Canadian system. You are able to see those amazing people, and you feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they talk about Canadian experience, the very first thing they address is about getting the license. So especially in healthcare, it's more than Canadian experience, it's about regulatory license.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as you said, they said that if you are a doctor, come to this country. They gave PR because of your education back home, your experience back home. We get point for our education.
Yeah.
We get point for our experience.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I put my foot in this country, all those things is dismantled.
Yeah, I know. And so tell me, is taking care of someone, like giving them a bed bath and giving them their medications and helping toilet a patient, different in India? Because I don't understand why a doctor, an internationally trained doctor coming to Canada has to get a PSW certificate to be able to do basic activities of daily living care on a person in a long-term care home. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No, that's a bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That's a clear bureaucracy they wanted to, because at the end of the day, it's a business also, because they have a certain example and reason that these IEHPs need additional guidance. Few example, but they just build upon on that as a business to make sure that people get the certificate.
Sure, but let's create like a bridging program or an equivalency exam, and every single person who comes into the country, we say, write this exam and we'll see where you fall, and then we will match you with the right education or the right coaching or the right support system to, in 6 months, get you where you need to be, as opposed to saying, no, trudge your way through a 2-year college program, fighting your way to get a part-time job at, Wendy's. And then maybe when you graduate, you'll be lucky enough to get an interview, but you'll probably be overlooked because we're going to give it to somebody who's internal. Like,
that hurts.
It's awful.
That certainly hurts. So that's where I would say that lobbying come into a place where leaders like you and people who did this and who are in current position right now, who came before 10 years, IEHPs, and if they are in a good situation right now that's where their responsibility is to lobby to the government regulatory bodies that there is something we have been doing for 10 years or 20 years and you can see the result are same. Now, what needs to be done to change
Insanity, right?
Yes.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Totally, I would say that's another thing.
I'm also just going to plug and say the IEHPs who've been here for 10 years, they should also be mentoring people. They should be, working with young people and taking you under your wing, so to speak, and, being that support system, because they've been there and they've done that. And I think that's something that I struggle. And I've already alluded to this, but I struggle because I haven't been in their shoes. Now, this isn't to say that I haven't struggled in my life, because, and I mean, we don't need to get into the whole, story of my childhood, but I grew up impoverished. Like I was the product of a teen pregnancy, and I was put up for adoption. And, I've seen a thing or two in my time. And so I'm very lucky that I, was taken out of the situation that I was born into. So to say that I haven't had any suffering or that I haven't had to be resilient at all in my life, I certainly have, but in a different way than what I'm seeing IEHPs or newcomers to Canada. I just feel like not only do they have the fact that they are, internationally trained and coming to a brand new country and they're just trying to, find their way. But we also have the fact that our workforce and, the ways that we've been doing things were established 100 years ago by a team of white men who decided that a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 structure and, the bureaucracy that you've alluded to. And now it's 2024, and I think we're starting to see the younger generations kind of push back about that. So that kind of segues into where I would like your perspective on things is, how do you see the younger generation or younger IEHPs that are coming into Canada? How do you see their morals and their ethics and their values and what they feel is quality of life. Like, how do you see that as different with younger people that you've been working with?
So I would say that acknowledging the next generation is something that I don't see very often. And you can see that Shannon is always telling that how Gen Z kind of a mom you are. And that suits you again, you just labeling that, which gives us a safe zone for us to be open to you. Acknowledging that, yeah, certainly we have certain shortcomings.
Do you identify as a Gen Z?
When I talk about, we are talking about my students.
Oh, okay.
I would say, even though I don't identify, but if you see how I live and my behavior, you would put me under
Me
that.
Me too.
You would totally, only maybe we are just vibing here right now. So when I see them, I would say that sadly, I see the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I see their challenges and I see their shortcoming. Okay. But I don't think so I ever been communicating to them that what you are doing is wrong and all those things. Because the moment you say that, then that's where they're going to accept that's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We are identifying them without even giving them the same foothold.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think the thing that the narrative that I'm trying to push is maybe they're not wrong. Like maybe the opinions that they have about, selling yourself to selling your soul to your employer and working, 12-hour shifts, 7, days in a row, and the shame that's associated with calling in sick. And, I think that younger people don't have the same, I don't know that it's not guilt. Like they don't feel guilty about advocating for themselves. They don't feel guilty about standing up for what they believe in. Whereas millennials and Gen X, we've been told to, or we've been taught like your career is important and you have to, never call in sick, and work-life balance is the thing we talk about, but work-life balance is not a thing that we practice. We preach it, but we don't practice it. Like I know you work more than 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I know you work more than 8 hours a day. Like I feel like I work unconsciously or consciously, I feel like I'm working at least 15 hours a day on average.
that's the right number.
Yeah. It's because from the moment you wake up in the morning, you're starting to, I don't know what your routine is. Maybe that's a good question. How do you keep yourself organized? Because I have a really hard time. I get really overwhelmed with DMs, emails, keeping up, on top of posting regularly and stuff. Like, how do you keep yourself organized? And do you have any sort of routines or habits that you stick to kind of keep yourself on track?
So sadly, just like how you are saying, when the work comes to our plate, we tend to address that and just move on. So the sad part about entrepreneurs or startup, whenever I talk to the entrepreneurs, they always say that they don't have a process. So we don't set the process. That's where our challenges comes into a place. And people always say that it's better to take some kind of work integrated learning for the entrepreneurs, for us to learn from the forerunners, how they did it. That's something that I'm trying to accept, that I don't know enough. I'm not doing it properly. But Sharon, I'm pretty sure that you did amazing in your college days or when you were practicing as a registered social worker.
in the front lines,
The front line. You never had any issue in terms of doing what you're supposed to do or always doing.
Well, I mean, my problem is that I have always been the textbook definition of a workaholic. Like the, first job I ever had was in the nursing home, as I mentioned. And then by the time I was 18, I think I was working in 4 different departments in the nursing home. So I was working in the housekeeping department, the laundry department, the dietary department, and the PSW department. So I would work a housekeeping shift from 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. And then I would start a PSW shift from 3 until 11. And I was doing that at 18 years old. And that just kind of set the stage for, I don't know why, and this is probably a trauma response or something, but I just always feel like if I'm not doing something productive towards my career, if I'm wasting a day not making money, I feel like I've wasted a day. Like if I didn't pick up that shift, I feel guilty. If I, call in sick, I had COVID too recently, and how guilty I felt. Like I'm crying because I have to call in sick to this shift at the hospital. And I'm on the phone with the clinical director saying, I'll come in with COVID. I'll just quarantine in an office and I'll just do everything. I have a fever. I'm like, delirious. And I'm like, I'll come in. I don't care. Like, I'll do it. And they're like, no, you won't come in. Like, but then, there's some unusual dynamics with the team that I work in. And there's shame when you call in sick. And I think that's really unfortunate because, like I was saying, we preach work-life balance and your employer says, take your time off and don't come in if you're sick. But then when you take your time off, it's almost more work to come back after vacation. And then you're like trying to take 2 weeks to catch up from what you missed when you were on vacation. And then if you call in sick, it's like, well, is your arm falling off? Like, do you have, whatever. But anyways, I think for me, it's always been this extreme drive towards climbing the corporate ladder and trying to climb the corporate ladder as fast as I possibly could.
So if I have to, because this is something not unique for us, even as Indians, right? We tend to fall into a same trap in terms of just working. And more so in our culture, we also talk about marriage, about kids, about taking care of in-laws. That's part and parcel of the Indian household. In a way, but what I'm so surprised about this country system in a way that you've been working since you're 14. So if you have to take from an example from India, we tend to get support from our parents till we complete our bachelor's.
Wow.
Okay, that's something that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
My reason behind that is the system is like that. You don't have a lot of job opportunity back home. Employment is not up to that level. So people tend to just focus on education alone till 24, 25 easily, and they'll be dependent on the parents, including me. And when I hear about your story and the rest of Canadian story, that's something that I admire. In a way, right now, whoever comes after high school from India, I could clearly see that I was not that mature, or I didn't have a control of my life the way these students are having. Yeah. When I look at them, that's fair. Okay, these Gen Zs, these kids, they are going to do amazing.
Yeah.
Compared to my age, when they are at my age, they are going to be just doing a lot more good stuff. But as you said, they need that empowerment. They need exactly as you said. Now we need to be like giving that power to them, telling them that you are going to be a future. So it is high time that you lead it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of the world is, till we die, we will be leading. Then they'll have a change in mindset. I don't know how to break this cycle, Shah.
We're breaking it right now. We're breaking it by talking about it, I think. We're breaking about it by normalizing the conversation to say, hey, does anybody else feel like the workforce is a little bit backwards right now? Like, especially in healthcare, we're working to take care of people's health, but then when it comes to taking care of our own health, I can honestly say with the utmost certainty that every single person I know who works in the hospital has a second gig of some kind, if not a third gig. Like every single person I know, even at I'm working as an clinical operations manager in the hospital, and every single one of those women teaches, does research, obviously works after hours, and then maybe they have a director job. Like almost every single person I've come into contact with in my 12 years in acute care anyway, they all have a side hustle, or like they build their career by juggling multiple employers.
Was it same before 30 years or 40 years?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think if you talk to the boomer nurses or the boomer, clinical managers, I don't think so. But I think what do we call them? Like the Gen X generation. I guess for me anyway, it's that I realized that I could work a clinical manager position in a hospital and teach and pick up a job on the weekends.
Is it because of inflation, or is it because of that we need to purchase a house and all those things?
Well, when I lived in Toronto, I certainly felt the pressure to have more than one job, because you can't afford to live in Toronto on just what, in my opinion, I at the time was single and, just establishing myself. And my parents did not help me. I should tell you, my first job at 14 was in a long-term care home, but I started working at 12. I had a paper route. Like I delivered newspapers every day after school for 2 years before I started working in a nursing home. So I think it was, here's another reason why I think probably is that my parents anyway, they're sometimes operating in lack. And so I never wanted to feel as though I was lacking in financial, in a financial way. So in my mind, I was like, well, one job will pay for my rent and my groceries, but then my second job will pay for my shopping addiction and spending time with friends. And then my third job will be my savings and my travel money. You know what I mean? And, I was really lucky to have a rent-controlled apartment in Toronto, and it pained me when I gave up that place because they jacked the price up like $1,000 when I left. Yeah.
Because this is another thing I feel like, even though I had a second job before this semester, I also feel like there is some kind of intervention is needed in terms of making sure that unemployment should be reduced.
Yes.
And very first thing for that would be creating more job. That's obviously a very first thing. It's challenging Canada.
Can I just say though, how many people who are on welfare or who are on, unemployment, unemployment's fine because you pay into that, but people who are on welfare, who are homeless on the street, could probably work at Wendy's or Tim Hortons or Taco Bell. But we give them all of this government support and we almost enable them to stay suckling of the teat of the government. And then we bring in internationally trained people to take these jobs that the otherwise welfare people should be taking. And then we say, well, because this person is on welfare, well, we need internationally trained people to take these jobs in the mall. But no, we don't. We need to be taking the people on welfare and putting them in these jobs.
That's the number one priority.
100
citizens.
And listen, I am a feminist to my core, but please, I don't want to be canceled for this, but there's something about a young woman having a child and collecting baby bonus, and then having a second child and collecting more baby bonus, and then having a third child and collecting baby bonus. There are some stay-at-home moms out there collecting baby bonus who make more money than a person who works full-time at a fast food restaurant. Like, yes, being a mother is a very hard job, and I am not a mother, so I can't even pretend that I understand fully what that means. But I also think that there should be some sort of incentive for these young women to get jobs so that they can be role models to their children, as opposed to having this cyclical circumstance where their child sees, well, my mom did this and she never had to have a job and she collected money from the government. So you see a grandmother and her daughter having a daughter, and then her daughter having a child at 13 or 14 years old so that they can start collecting baby bonus. Like, this is something that it's like our priorities are off. Our priorities are really off.
So this is where again I come back to non-profit. I would say we need more community leaders. If you go back before 30 years, you would have some amazing leader in the community where people look up to them, and they would be also creating job or lobbying to the government to benefit the community, local community. Now I feel like there is no community as such. It's just a businessman and just a normal citizen. So there's two different worlds. That's where I'm still holding on to being non-profit and charity. If we could impact more youngsters to hustle in a good way to make sure to create more job, to be independent, and if they could get back in terms of being non-profit, then imagine non-profit is such a way that you will not think about buying a fourth house. You will not think about buying a yacht.
Well, this just goes back to the comment you made earlier about billionaires and how they have so much money. They're buying these ridiculous $500 million yachts and whatever. Like, no human on the planet needs that amount of money. Like, no human on the planet. And I know because of inflation, the number has gone up. But, 10 years ago, it was anything over $75,000 a year doesn't make a person more happy. It's probably like $90,000 a year now. But Is it 150?
Yeah, I would say, because there are people who are in IT, even though they're earning like 120 right now, because of the huge amount of tax what they have to.
Yeah.
Again, they are looking into a second gig.
Yeah. It's just unheard of to me.
Yes.
Like, just I feel every day I'm having conversations about this. Like, even yesterday, I was taking a taxi and I was having a conversation with this guy. And yes, he was a doctor from India. I tend to ask now every time, because then I say, well, this is what I'm doing, and let's talk about this. And I, want to get your perspective, because I'm trying so hard to put myself in, people's shoes. And, it's mind blowing to me that this man was talking about how, he was a surgeon and how he misses, walking into a hospital. And yeah, the system just feels so backwards to me. And I agree with you. I think not-for-profit is the way. And I don't think that anybody should be striving to be a billionaire. I think we should be living comfortably while supporting and uplifting and building the community around us, so that we have a better future for our younger generation to grow up in.
Then tell me, what would OBM would play a role in this part as well?
My goodness, how is OBM going to play a role? Well, I mean, I feel as if the pandemic really... So some might say that we're more connected than we've ever been before, because technology has connected us and we can all hop on a Zoom call and, talk to somebody in Australia in 30 seconds. But I love nothing more nowadays than sitting down with somebody in the flesh. Sitting down with you and seeing you in 3D form. Like, there was no way I was going to say, let's record a podcast over Zoom or whatever it is. Like, there was no way I wanted the podcast to be
And this will never be same. What I'm feeling right now, doing in person, this connection, and for me to actually admire what you built. And guys, you guys have to see this. The beauty of this place now. It just warms my heart that there's an amazing place. So as you said, I would say in person any day.
100 times over. And listen, I teach online and I teach in person.
Okay.
You do the both, right? You do online and in person. You cannot tell me that the people who are learning online have learned the same way that a person learns in an in-classroom setting. Like, you just can't tell me. And so there is an entire generation of young people who did a 2-year diploma online, who probably were never asked to be on webcam, maybe 2 times a semester. And maybe they didn't even chime in on audio to answer a single question the entire semester. And so tell me that those people who are graduating from those programs have
sad for them.
Too.
Because their life is not going to be in front of Zoom.
No. And so to answer your question, how is OBM going to fix that? It's getting back to the traditional ways of being a human with one another. Being human with one another means community, like you said. It means experiences together. It means creating experiences that we can enjoy together. Not let's have happy hour on Zoom at Thursday night. Like, that's not a good time to me at all. That doesn't sound like a good time to me at all. And if I'm being honest with you, the young people that I've worked with over the last 3 months, resounding message that in being able to have these positive experiences, being able to communicate and have, candid conversations, honest, transparent conversations with each other in person in a safe space where there's no bias and no judgment. It's a venting, you can vent about how you feel. I think young people today are craving that human connection because they were disconnected during some of the most foundational years of their life. Like, when I think about what I was doing at 18, 19, 20 years old, I was with people every day. I was interacting with people every day.
They are doing Indeed and Instagram.
That's all they're doing. Yep. They spend so much, and I'm guilty for this too. I spend a lot of time on a screen nowadays too, but I make a concerted effort to spend time with people when I can spend time with people. Like, I insist on offering an in-person option, even though people are like, oh, like, can we do it virtual? I'm like, sure, but you can come here and we can be in person too. If you are, I'll get an Uber and I'll Uber you here, like, if you want to be in person. So I want to create that opportunity for in-person collaboration and in-person inspiration and in-person think tanks. And, I feel like if we get back into the root of what makes the human experience so special is the traditions that we create together. And I don't know,
So in a way, I'm just for follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
If it's going to be
You're the host.
I'm trying to pick your brain because that's something that people has to realize, that how much thought gone behind this OBM, because that's something that's a learning for me also. Because I know for pretty sure you're going to ask up more about what Oneness does also.
Yes.
Before that, I'm just trying to see if there's any program that you are trying to build for the youngsters, because always when there is a curriculum or program, that's going to have a more impact in terms of, because of objective milestone and all those.
Yeah.
Are you thinking kind of a program?
Yeah, absolutely. This actually isn't something that's really been published or that a ton of people know, but I am comfortable talking about it at this point because we've got a really good sort of system lined up. So my idea is that we will have mentorship cohorts. So similar cohort alignment like a semester. So from September to December, January to April, May to August, we do an intake of applicants who want to be mentored, and we'll have a pool of professionals like yourself who will sign on to be an OBM mentor. And when we get applicants for that 4-month cohort, we match the applicant to the most appropriate mentor that would be able to help them meet their goals, with the idea that you're not coming in as a person being mentored with no clear vision. It's not like, I just want to hang out with you so you can get me a job. No. You have to have a very clear understanding of how you are going to use your 4 months of time with this executive leader to ensure that your time is being used wisely, but also you're not wasting their time. Because one of the things that's come up a lot, I've been asking people who have mentored in the past, they'll say, my brain is very expensive. The time that I spend with people is expensive. And so I don't want to mentor a person who isn't going to take their own development seriously and who isn't going to take my time, and isn't going to value my time.
Totally right, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a vision for how the 4 months will go. I believe that there needs to be at least one in-person networking experience together. Yeah. I believe there needs to be regular, at least once weekly, touch points where you can get an understanding of where you're at in the goals that have been established. The idea would also be that your mentor connects you within their network. And my idea for OBM, LinkedIn, and all of our other social media podcasts and everything is to give young people a platform to be able to put themselves out there in a way that's different. So if you're having a hard time getting a job, well, come on the OBM podcast with your mentor and let's talk about what your experience has been like over the last 4 months. And now you have an entire episode of your experience out there, and anybody who's hiring is going to hear you're articulate, confident, and all of the things that you've done over the last 4 months with your mentor to set you up for success in your career. And the idea would be when that episode gets launched, or that 1-minute video of your experience with your mentor gets launched, then that could potentially be the ticket to you getting a job. Now, that's just one way. Not everybody wants to be on camera or on a podcast, but even, just at the end of each 4-month cohort. So say, for example, we're coming up in August at the end of the semester, we'll arrange every cohort to have a big networking event where all of the mentors and mentees come together. And I know all the mentors and mentees come together. And then if you want to attend that event, you have to buy a ticket. But if you are part of the cohort, it's, all part of the experience. So every 4 months, we have an OBM social event or an OBM networking event.
It'll be fun. I can totally imagine it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And then the hope would be that if you've been an OBM mentee, that you would then want to be an OBM mentor to somebody else after you've, gotten your footing and established yourself.
I'm glad you ended over. That's how it should be. Always you have to just share that guidance.
Yeah, sure.
Just giving back. I'm glad. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Finally, the name for it. Sorry for you.
Well, I mean, I haven't. I haven't. So in my mind, I don't know if you're familiar with this not-for-profit, but Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Canada.
Okay.
So this is a not-for-profit that's been in Canada for probably close to 40 years. But what they do, and the only reason I know this is because I grew up in the system, but what they do is young children who are in foster care or who have, a family who are struggling financially, you sign up as a little and you get matched with a big, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters, you get matched with somebody who hangs out with you once a week and takes you to the movies and takes you to play basketball and, takes you to a concert. And so as a big, you improve the quality of this young person's life. So I envision mentor-mentee matching kind of being like big brother, little brother, or big sister, little sister, or whatever. It doesn't have to be, we can gender cohort. But I think that 4 months is the sweet spot. I think that it's just enough time that you'll be able to have enough meaningful conversation and enough time to create those experiences that you can have together, as well as OBM creating experiences throughout your cohort as well. So that's kind of one piece of OBM. But then the other branch, so to speak, the olive branch, will be the mental health and peer-to-peer support. So we'll be introducing mental health supports for young people who are struggling because they've applied to 150 jobs and they're feeling hopeless and they just need to have a safe space to come and vent or collect resources or be amongst like-minded individuals who are having the same struggles. So we'll have, actually, we've partnered with Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly known as Ryerson. We've partnered with them. So we're bringing on BSW students starting in September. We're bringing on a psychotherapist starting in September. So we're going to be doing one-on-one support for crisis intervention, and we'll be doing group support that's actually tailored to specific professions. So like nurses who are struggling, with nurses, like with nurses who are struggling in the hospital, or having, just support groups for people to come and, I believe strongly and I advocate strongly for physical violence, like the physical violence that clinicians face in the workforce. It's unacceptable. Like you shouldn't be a nurse going into your job being worried that you're going to get punched or kicked or spit on or sworn at or whatever, like the physical aggression that clinicians have to endure. And then they don't have an outlet to talk about it after. It's like you go through all these traumatic experiences in healthcare every shift, and then you're just supposed to leave your 12-hour shift and go home to your family and pretend like you didn't just watch somebody take their last breath that day, or that called you every name in the book and, were sexually inappropriate to you, and you just have to go home and your husband or your wife asks you how your day was and you say, good. Like, no, we need a space where people can talk about these things openly and freely, because I'm sorry, like, bless all of the hearts for the people who work for employee assistance programs or EAP, but handing someone a brochure and say, call employee assistance program from the trauma that you've experienced, like, you're trained as a clinical manager and as a clinical director when your team goes through a traumatic event to say, and everybody knows that EAP is available to you, but EAP gives you what, like 2 sessions with the counselor, and then, you have to pursue mental health services and support on your own dime because your insurance or your secondary insurance through your employer only covers $500 a year or something. So in my mind, I feel like we need to be normalizing the conversations that people are having in the workforce. Horrible bosses.
Yeah.
Your boss, your manager, has more of an impact on your happiness than your partner does.
Yeah.
Like, so why do we have so many bad managers? Like, why do we have so many people in positions of power who are not empathetic, who don't have that emotional intelligence?
Accountability, but so there's not.
Yes.
That's another issue with this country. Sorry. That's another huge issue with this country. There is no accountability at any level. You can just rob a house, rob a car.
Ryan also works. He works with adults with disabilities in the disability sector. His brother has cerebral palsy, so he grew up, with Special Olympics, coaching, people with disabilities, and so he and I have had conversations before where it's like you're working alongside somebody, they've never done any leadership training, but now all of a sudden this person you were at the same level with is now your manager, but they're not capable to be a manager. They're not trained to be a manager. And so you have now this toxic work environment where this person who was kind of, we call it, I guess, grandfathered into a leadership role, but were never formally or never asked to actually pursue the right training. But not only that, like there's also this whole notion that everybody can be a leader, but not everybody should be a leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with parenting. Like everybody can be a parent, but not everybody should be a parent. And so that I just feel that our system now is inundated and overrun with managers who are not capable of being managers, but because we've had this mass exodus and complete upheaval of the workforce and post-pandemic, whatever, we have all of these junior managers or fresh managers who are hanging on for dear life and just trying to get through the day while their team and their program is crumbling around them.
That's the consequence, no?
Yeah. It's the only solution I can think is we need to start supporting the younger generation now. Like we need to be normalizing this conversation now so that in 10 to 15 years, that generation is going to be able to change and flip the script.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, all of these young people, like, how old is your son?
6.
You're a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
What does he want to be when he grows up?
Yeah, every day it changes, right?
Yeah.
So,
what like
most of the time it's police.
Oh, a police officer. Okay, I love that. I love to hear that because you ask a lot of kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? A YouTuber, an influencer. What's the other thing? A health and wellness specialist. Not a lot of young people are signing up to go into public and social services because they hear their parents talk about their frustrations with the system and they, endured this pandemic, that turned our world upside down. And I feel like if we don't create some sort of a renaissance for what working in healthcare can be and what being a teacher can be and how
rewarding it is. Yeah.
Yes, like how rewarding that can be. Like, I don't know. I feel like we have to just, everything boils down to the basics of what it means to be human. And that's communication and collaboration and transparency. None of this like reading between the lines. Like my rule of thumb is say what you mean and mean what you say. I do not want you to give me some fluff about whatever. Like tell me I have it tattooed on my arm. Tell me how you really feel. Like tell me how you really feel. I want to know how you really feel. I don't want to know what you think,
but
I want to hear. I want to know how you really feel. And sometimes, and Ryan, my partner, this is our production for today. Sometimes Ryan will say, Shannon, you have to be a little bit softer because I can be very direct in how I deliver my messaging sometimes, but it's because I want you to talk to me directly. I want to speak to you the same way I hope you will speak to me, and not that I'm guessing how you feel or guessing where we stand. Like, I want you to know that I respect you, and I want you to know that I think that you are brilliant, and I don't want to hold back if I am proud of something that you've done. I think that we should be celebrating each other way more openly than we do. It shouldn't just be commenting on someone's social media posts. Do you know what I mean? Like
totally, because this is something that when I came to Canada, it was new for me.
Because celebrating each other, you mean?
No, I mean being straightforward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because in a way that, I don't know, there's a good analysis called Hofstede analysis regarding cultural comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see Canada compared to India or most of our South Asian countries, so we tend to be a community or communism-based kind of mentality. And if you see North America, it's more on to individualistic kind of thing. So what happens is, because we are part of a community and grown with a power distance inside the family, we always tend to be very sensitive on what we communicate, and we tend to provide more cue kind of a things than the in term of communication or wording.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came here, even though me being a man, quote unquote,
you are a man. You don't have to quote it. You're definitely a man.
I mean, in that way that just because of that and the way I brought up back home. So when I see here and how direct, how straightforward communication is, that's something I tend to learn every day. I tend to practice to communicate straightforward. And I tell to students, when you talk to Canadian, at times you may feel like they might be too straightforward or just at your face, but you need to realize that they mean what they are telling to you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're looking down on you. I literally tell to them, that doesn't mean that they hate you, or that doesn't mean they are being discriminated to you. It's just that they are like, whatever you have in your mind, try to be open about it. How else, because we are from two different cultures, how else do we know that how we are thinking? So learn to communicate.
Yeah.
I struggle, but I'm at least trying to own up to it and through this journey. So I tell to my students, Canadians are, at times you can feel that they don't mean, but most of the time they certainly mean as such what they're saying.
I hear what you are saying, but I also am not going to ignore the huge purple elephant in the room, in that there's very much racism and oppression, and it actually terrifies me to think the U.S. presidential election coming up, what that's going to do in terms of the residual effect that we in Canada will experience. Like, I say to my students, there's a couple of classes that I teach where we talk about culture and ethnicity, and I am very transparent with my students, and I will say, I will not stand up here and tell you that it's rainbows and butterflies. There will be a time when you feel as though you are being overlooked, or you are being mistreated, or you are being disrespected, and it probably will be because you are not from Canada. And it's just the facts. Like, there are just some people out there whose worlds and minds are so small that they can't even imagine what they can't even imagine putting themselves in the shoes of this person. And I really, really struggle with the fact that there's pockets of our country where I wouldn't recommend an internationally trained person to go. Like, I wouldn't recommend, because I don't know what that experience would look like.
Yeah, I made it Thunder Bay. So there, because of the place where it is, there is more, I would say, more racism discrimination in Northern Ontario compared to GTA as such.
Oh, definitely. Yes. The more rural you get, the more racism and oppression.
But I was trying to be to the students in a way that most of professors, at times, they can be straightforward.
Oh, yeah.
So on that level, because what's happening in the outside world, it's something that I tend to be very conscious on. Creating an image for them to just assume what I'm saying is the only factual thing.
Right.
But what you mean is that, but at the same time, this is something is a learning for me also. We need to be evidence-based, and you are telling the actual reality as such. So we should be communicating that aspect also. But we are immigrants, so we tend to accept what it is and just...
Yeah, well, that's just it, right? And I hear about these horror stories. I am mindful of the time. I think we're about an hour and 15, but this conversation is going so well. I don't want to redirect it, but I am so mindful of the experiences that you're seeing on the news of international students and the horrific living circumstances that they're put in. And I've had students come to me and say, I don't know if I have the right to say something. And I'm like, of course you have the right to say something. Absolutely, you should not be paying $800 a month to be having rotating shifts on a mattress in a kitchen. Like, that to me that's criminal. That is flat out criminal, what has been happening over the last couple of years. And I really hope somebody figures that out, because I want international students to know that they should not be on the receiving end of that. And if you ever are, please come to OBM, because I will I will shout it from the rooftops and I will shine a spotlight on that experience that you've had, because you shouldn't have to live through that silently, and you should have somebody protecting you and advocating for you. And I think that the world is full of a lot of really crooked people. And if you find yourself on sort of the receiving end of that crookedness, you need to have a place like Oneness and OBM
for sure
to land.
So regarding this also, because imagine these students share these details to their parents, even they tend to just tell them to adjust and accept it.
Yeah.
Okay. Many
And
times.
how, I just took a deep sigh, because I'm thinking like, adjust and accept it? Really?
Yes, because it's a norm over there to accept the system and move on. So here, this is where I'm glad that OBM is stressing on this aspect. In OEF also, we are trying to build a platform in our website, like a safety tools.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a Excel sheet with all the data. What we are trying to do is, if there is any sexual harassment, if there is any human trafficking kind of things, or any landlord issue, employer issue, we are trying to build this platform to whom to report, where to report, how to report. Just these three things.
Love that.
At the moment they type in these details, they can choose to be anonymous or they can put their details. And these information will not come to us. It will directly go to the government organization.
Hey.
So when they come to Oneness page, they should be comfortable that it is us.
Mm-hmm.
When they come to OBM, they will not be worried about the unreasonable consequence, thinking that this is going to stop their study permit or
they need to know that it's safe. They need to know that they're protected. Yeah.
So we're trying to build this so that anything happens, they can just jump on and put the information. It should directly go to the concerned person as such. Because that's something that I genuinely think that we must do something about it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong must be clear. And when it's wrong.
Yeah, because you come to a new country and I guess you would be asking yourself, like, is this just part of the culture? Like, is this just what I'm supposed to, as you say, parents say, well, just lean into it and accept it. So, all right. I know you've also got a really incredible thing happening with your website for the job search app. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes, that's another topic, second topic. What do you think, what are the few barriers or pain point for the IEHPs according to your...
Well, I mean, we already kind of...
years.
Yeah, we already alluded to the one, which is having Canadian experience, which is silly.
Yeah.
And then I guess the others that are obvious to me is the resume formatting from other countries and how convoluted the resume and cover letter process is here in North America. I think there's also a disconnect in terms of young trained professionals coming here and writing a cover letter. And I think that what else would be confidence, I think, because imposter syndrome and feeling like I mean, I know what imposter syndrome feels like to me, and I can't imagine how it would feel for an international student at times as well. So those are the three things, I guess.
For sure.
The Canadian experience, the archaic, convoluted, inefficient resume, cover letter, application process, and
the confidence.
And the confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is where we spoke to a good number of people, but I'm glad that you addressed the confidence part. This is where I always think that I'm going to just focus on involving OBM in that aspect with Oneness. When the time comes, it's like they have to go to the Oneness website. If they want to just address anything related to mental health or leadership or mentorship, they should just go ahead and click the website. It should directly take to OBM.
We'll just have a button on both of our websites that links us to each other. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yes.
So other than that, we found out that there is a 4 pain point.
Oh, okay. Tell us.
So first thing would be community support. People who are forerunners who came before 3 years, if they could share their journey and their tips. Because initially they are coming to a new country and they have no support system in a way. So at least in their respective field. So we have a separate community platform for that. We already have close to 250 members on that platform in different field. Physics and nursing, pharmacy, medical lab technologist, research, and whatnot, physiotherapist. So we have all the different spaces where they can just join and you just post your question. There are people to answer your question. Maximum within one day. It's currently going really good. And that's the first thing. Yes. Then second would be, as you said, Canadian experience. Okay. But what we realized is before people talk about that, people needs to have a skill development or a transferable skill according to what is needed in Canada. But to start from CPR first aid also, people need to have a CPR first aid here. Or as you said, back home, they are still dependent on the paper-based. So we need a EMR kind of things or regarding OHIP building and all those things. So second thing would be providing that professional skill development. So that when they go to the interview, because most of the time they are not even confident that they know these things. The moment they see the job description, they think that they are not confident to apply for that. So that's where the professional skill development come into a place. With these two things, there's going to be a mock interview and all those things. And the part of Oneness members, then at the end, we'll also provide them the mock interview and for them to get that confidence that they can go ahead and try it. Then the third one is the Compassion Act. So it's a compassionate connect. Okay, connecting
Compassionate?
Compassionate.
Love that.
Yes, compassionate connect. So connecting compassionate employer with compassionate employee.
Nice.
So that's the job portal. This is something unique in a way that in Indeed or LinkedIn, employer will post their job. In Compassionate, IEHPs or Canadians, they can post themselves as a product.
Love it.
Yes, their experience, education.
Kind of like a dating profile for jobs, sort of? Okay, I love that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So if Shannon wants to hire someone, you can just go in and put the postal code, put what are the roles that you are expected to hire, what language you need, you put the filter and you directly reach out to those people from there. And we know that realistically, this country dependent more on to the small scale clinic employers for IEHP than the hospital.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do you accept that?
I agree 100%.
And we totally applaud these amazing small scale clinic. So we are trying to right now to support these small scale clinic because they are creating job. They are the one who is giving us the initial opportunities. So we want to have, we already have a HR manager kind of a things. So we are reaching out to this employer. You don't need to worry. They can post on Indeed, but we can directly send them the candidate.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that we are doing for Compassion Act. That's the third one. To make sure that once they have that community support and the professional skill development, then they should land into their first job. But this is not their future.
It's getting their feet wet and meeting people. Yeah, it's the stepping stone.
Yes. But the last one is always getting their regulatory license.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the last step.
That's where your sights are set.
Yes. So we want to make sure that for that they need funding. And you know that again, it's easily starts from $3,000 to $4,000 as minimum and it goes to $80,000. For dentists, they have to spend close to 60 to 80K for them to become a dentist in this country. Because they have to buy all the instruments.
How much do doctors have to pay?
Doctors, I would say just 30 to 40 should be the...
My Lanta.
I would say it's including all the coaching and everything. 30 would be the maximum budget, including all the materials.
Wow.
But dentist is certainly it's more expensive. Doctor can, if they can properly plan, but doctors, the issue is it's a length. It would take 5 years to 4 years for them to start the residency. It's more on to the journey as such. So what we are trying to do, this is where we decided to go for charity.
Yeah.
So we already launched in terms of supporting the obviously IEHPs or Oneness members for them to take their licensing exam. So we have a crowdfunding kind of a platform.
I know, I love it.
Yes.
It's so good.
So if we are going to be 10 nurses or 10 doctors, they can pool in the money. So every month someone can take the exam instead of waiting for 1 year to save the money and do the exam.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And we are getting a donation. We are doing our best in terms of after getting charity approval. Kudos to that.
Yes. Hallelujah. That's amazing.
Yeah, God bless. So we are going to get also the additional funding in terms of people who can't afford. They'll be able to leverage this funding. So these are the 4 things that currently we are completely focusing on.
It's amazing. Amazing. What was the date on your articles of incorporation? Like, what was your incorporation?
31st March 2023. Just last year.
It's just over a year.
Yes.
Yeah. Mine is April 26, 2024. So I'm
I know that.
one year, 1 month behind you.
Yeah. And, but I would certainly say that there is a lot of learning what I get from OBM. Even the moment you're talking about the program, no, I'm just thrilled and excited to send competent people to OBM. So that, because at the end of the day, the only thing which can make sense, people all talk about effort matters, it matters, but what's going to make us successful as an organization would be success stories.
And there's so many already. Not every, but other than 2, all of the people that I have mentored have gotten employment since April. Yeah. Yeah, two or 3. There's one that I'm really, really, really hoping for, and I know she had an interview last week. Oh my goodness. How many times have you sent somebody to an interview and they're only having 15-minute interviews? Is that a normal thing?
Yeah, it's a normal thing.
That is not normal.
No, here it's totally, they just spend the initial 10 minutes and it's done.
Yeah, so we prepared for this interview and I sent her all kinds of resources. We talked about things. Probably minimum total, I spent 2 hours texting, resources, blah, blah, blah. And I say, your interview's at 1 o'clock. Text me when your interview's done. Let me know how it goes. 1:12. 12 minutes after 1, I get a text message. Right?
It's not even a hiring manager, or is it a hiring manager?
I think she met with the hiring manager.
That's bad.
And there was a master's student who didn't ask her any questions, and there was another research assistant or something. And she said the questions that they asked were standard template, they went on to ChatGPT and said, what are 8 interview questions I should ask this person?
Situation.
And so when she texted me after 12 minutes, I was like, what? And I said, did you think it went well? And she said, yeah. They were engaging and they were really excited about my availability. And when I said I could start they were really excited. So that was on Tuesday. And then she doesn't hear anything Wednesday. And then she doesn't hear anything Thursday. And then she doesn't hear anything Friday. And then at that point, she's like, what do you think's happening? And I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm saying, well, what I think is happening, because I know the system well and I've hired enough people to know what the process is. What I think is happening is because on paper they have to show that they did the interview process and they interviewed all the people to show that this person who got the job was the most qualified to do the job. So what they're doing is scheduling 4 15-minute time slot interviews to plow those 4 people through, giving them some sense of hope. And meanwhile, they already know who the person is they're going to hire before even wasting their hour-long, 15-minute interview, whatever you want to call them, rapid-fire interviews or whatnot. And then that poor person who was led to believe that the interview their 12-minute interview went well, they go home thinking there's something wrong with me. No. There's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong is human resources isn't creating a space where people are getting the opportunity to actually put themselves up. You can't tell me you know someone in 12 minutes. You do not know someone's skill and ability in 12 minutes.
Because these people are already having mental health stress. They have depression. At last they got one window of an opportunity to do something.
They've applied to 450 jobs and they finally got an interview and they got 12 minutes of your time. That is so disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. That person just spent 5 hours of their week reading your organization's mission, vision, values, memorizing the details, scouring your LinkedIn profile to understand your professional background.
You know what they will say?
What will they say?
If we ask to those people, no, at least we give them opportunity to try out for the interview. They must have learned something.
And that I try to spin it in that direction, when the person comes back to me and says, I didn't get it. Yeah. And I feel kind of hypocritical or, if this wasn't the one, then the next one's going to be the one. But in my heart, I'm feeling like you were perfect for this job and they missed out on someone really amazing. And it's just, the inefficiencies of our system are infuriating. Well, I think we need to move on to our next almost near final segment. And this is one of my favorite things to do. So we have some talking point. It's called Conversations with Purpose. Okay, so the one box is support. The other box is generations. And the other one is resilience. So first pick your box and then I'm going to get...
I would say I am more into right now. I want to take a resilience, but that looks challenging. So I'm going to go ahead.
You're going to go with support. Okay, I think that's good. All right. So I'm going to get you. I'll tell you the categories. So there's Blue, which are questions around getting to know you. Green is building connection. Red is strength and resilience. Yellow is mindfulness. And purple is going deeper. So taking it deeper. So blue, green, red, orange, or purple. I'm not going to repeat them to you. Just pick a number, pick a color.
That's what I decided already. The moment you start laying out,
You're like, colors? Just pick a color.
Yeah, I would go with blue. My son loves blue.
Blue. All right, you got it. Blue. I'm going to just randomly pick from the blue. Blue?
Yes.
I'm going to randomly pick.
Sure.
I'll hit. Oh, I like what? If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, like I said, here's my credit card, you can book a flight anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I don't know. I have to be honest to myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be business. It can be pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure. In a way that, I never been to Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would like to go to Jerusalem and also Mecca and Medina. That's something that it's personal, it's spiritual to me in a way that with all the things what's happening currently in this world, I wanted to go there and appreciate what kind of struggle the people who have passed on gone through to keep that place safe as such. So I would say that certainly I would go to those holy places and just to acknowledge that we are still trying to hold on to their values.
Yeah.
Whatever they fought and they died for, I just want to acknowledge those amazing people. I'm sorry
beautiful.
To the spiritual thing.
No, are you?
Just for whole night.
Are you kidding? I'm right down a spiritual journey right now. I'm all about manifesting and the power of positive thinking and tapping into your spirituals. I believe in that 100%.
Because this is Shannon. We have to realize that history is something that we must learn.
Yes.
Okay. Only when you know history, then you know that it's like knowing that 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen in turn turns into water. Doesn't matter how you put in. Likewise, if it's a dry wood and if it's a heat, there's going to be a fire. It's a factual thing. So history always repeats.
Yeah.
And we need to acknowledge that people who died for us to sit here and talk like this, there are millions of deaths. We need to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
There's too many war happened, too many stuff happened. So we need to acknowledge them as such. And I want to always be mindful about those amazing individuals. For that, we need to know what are the best places which happened, those kind of things.
Yeah. It's beautiful that you use that as an example, because one of my bucket list places, and maybe people will think this is morbid, but I have this really, fascination with the world wars, like World War I, World War II. I would love to go to the Jewish concentration camp Auschwitz and walk the Auschwitz grounds. I just feel like the energy would be so powerful, and I feel like that to me is like the pinnacle of what the depths of depravity that these humans had to experience at the hands of Nazi Germany. I'm really interested in doing that and going to see Auschwitz, and I believe that experience would be very profound in being grateful for what you have and grateful for the time that we live in, and despite all of the political unrest and whatever that we are living through. But I agree with you. Putting ourselves in those historical environments and feeling what our ancestors and the people before us survived through in order for us to be able to be here today, I think you're onto something there. Sure.
But imagine that we are forgetting those things.
Yeah.
The moment if you're not going to keep on talk about this, our next generation, I'm really concerned. Will my son will be able to remember those people who put their life for us as such?
It's wild to me to think that there are people alive today who were alive during 9/11, because 9/11 was such a impactful experience in my life. I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario, which is a border city to Port Huron. And when 9/11 happened, we had an emergency shelter in place because we were on the top 10 list of places that could be bombed because of the oil pipeline that ran from Sarnia to Alberta. So I remember the fear. I remember that so vividly. And there's young people today who don't know that, like who would not be able to tell you, well, I was in my grade 9 French class and Mr. Matchett wheeled in a TV and we watched the news in my, class when this was happening. And I'm sure there are obviously things that have happened in our world that they'll say, I remember what 2020 when the toilet paper, everybody was, buying toilet paper in heaps and mounds and we were all fighting over, groceries and whatever. Like, that will be their thing.
Yeah,
but
that was a milestone for sure.
Yeah.
It's another huge, I don't know what's the right term to use.
I don't know either, but these just like hugely impactful situations. All right, I'm going to take the same box, but I'm going to do green because green's my thing. So.
Hey. Ooh.
Good one?
Something, yes. Simple at the same time, it can be profound also. Who is the funniest person you know?
Me.
So I said, no, it's profound. Yeah, we have to appreciate ourselves.
Yay. No, who is the funniest person I know? I know a lot of funny people, and humor is actually really important to me because I have major social anxiety, and I know people are often very surprised when I say that I'm an introvert because I know outwardly I don't.
Okay, I am surprised.
I know outwardly I don't present that way, but take it from my person who I live with, I think it's safe to say that the introversion is real in this one. And a lot of people don't understand that about me, but a way that I overcome that introversion and a way that I overcome my social anxiety is through humor and relating to people by, poking fun at the situation we're in, or, I try to relate to people by making them smile or by being silly myself, or I also use a lot of self-deprecating humor, but that just goes back to the imposter syndrome and whatnot. But comedy, I feel, and smiling with each other and laughing with each other, that again just goes back to those core human experiences that we need to have with each other in order to feel connected. And I think that for me has been a huge thing that I lean on is feeling okay to be silly, or feeling okay to to say the thing that people aren't willing to say. And humor is very important. So when you say who's the funniest person you know, well, everyone I hang out with is funny because you have to have a sense of humor, and we have to have a similar sense of humor, not identical, but you have to understand when I'm being sarcastic, or you have to understand when I'm, teasing you. Teasing you is not, it's not a hurtful thing. We all have our flaws and imperfections, and we can't take ourselves too seriously. Life is way too short to take ourselves too seriously.
Beautifully said. Because I feel like my best memories would be when I was silly.
Yes,
my
absolutely.
Best memories. Where all were laughing. My family was laughing. My friends were laughing. My students were laughing.
Yeah.
They're the best.
How often do you have those like deep belly, laughs that just, you can feel it in your soul when you have those experiences with people. And,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than that, I don't think.
And whenever I see a photo of your student and where you are standing, I could see the smile what you always focus on.
Yeah.
I can see teeth of every student in the group photo whenever you post as such. And that's something that people feel awkwardly in a way that why this class is always smiling and making noise as such.
Yeah.
So
I have teachers who complain that my classes are too loud. And, at the end of the semester, I'll do potlucks and stuff, and we'll just be jamming and dancing and whatever we're doing. And the teacher will come and be like, we're writing an exam. And I'm like, I don't care. We're having fun.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
I'm going to lose my job for that. But no, I think humor and comedy and not taking ourselves too seriously is really, really important. There's nothing worse than a uptight, stuffy professional that can't, let down their guard and show me that they, have some sense of human left in them, that they're not so robotic that they have to follow policy and procedure so strictly. Those are not my kind of people. My kind of people are able to make light of situations and are able to laugh at themselves. I think that's really important.
Amazing, for sure.
Really important.
So if I have to ask one more question to you, why this? Why this arrangement?
Why this?
Why podcast?
I'll show you a picture after this, but I have a newspaper clipping from my senior year in high school. And I think it was on the front page of the newspaper in my hometown. And I'm center. Do you know the picture that I'm talking about? I'm in the center of this group of all of my peers. I was the head of the drama department and I was the head of the prom committee and all these things. And I'm standing there, at the center of this group, all these people behind me. And I had led this, we called it the preview. And it was like a talent show, but kind of like SNL. And we created all of these skits. We wrote them all ourselves. You bought a ticket for $5. We had like 5 nights of shows. And I think back to those times of being able to be silly and being able to be creative and being able to flex that eccentric, artistic kind of bone that I have. Like there's something, like you can see, I have a DIY corner. If I had more time, I would be doing so many more creative, artistic things. And the podcast and how all of this came to be is because when I found myself last year in my career feeling like, okay, you made it to this director position. Here it is. You've been working towards this for 20 some odd years. And 3 weeks in, I was like, this isn't it. This is not the thing. This is where I found myself enjoying my career the most in positions of leadership was when I was uplifting my team, when I was identifying a champion and creating experiences for them in the hospital and inviting them to sit on a steering committee or delegating tasks that they would find meaningful to them. And so then I started to see myself, editing people's resumes for them. And it all, even as like a late 20-something, I was supporting my peers in applying for jobs. But last year when I was in this clinical director position and I felt like this isn't it, there was this intense, moment in my life back in December where it was like, I don't want to be doing anything that I don't want to do anymore. Everything that I do, I want to be enjoying myself. I want to be uplifting people around me. I want to be putting positivity in the world. I don't want to take a job just for the clout or to take a job for the title or to say that I work at this world-renowned organization. Because guess what? Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and I still found myself not feeling fulfilled. But when I tell you, the last 4 months of my life have been the happiest and most fulfilling and most rewarding. And I was just saying before you came, like, I have learned more just in general in terms of skills in the last 3 months than I've learned in the last 10 years. And I've learned more about myself in the last 6 months than I have in my entire adult life. So why this?
That was a beautiful
I'm
answer.
just living my truth.
I want not only myself, because I know how crazy serious you are about this OBM and what you are doing. But I also wanted, because people tend to easily have some kind of assumption about when people do certain things. And the passion, the way you addressed it, even for the viewers, I want them to understand that this is who Shannon is. Okay, and I'm completely, I second what you said. In last 6 months to 1 year, what I learned about myself, if only I can document it like a biography.
Documentary or something, yeah.
Imagine it would have been great as such, but in a way that I'm exploring myself, who I can be. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. But there are challenging days.
Oh my goodness, every other day.
Shivering and I am like having a night.
I know. You and I have both exchanged messages being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm in over my head. Every other day I'm like, this is going to fail. What am I doing? What am I doing?
Whenever you make a post, whenever you share your initiative, you have no clue. I talk to my team members, my directors. I'll be like, look at Shannon. She's doing what she said she will do. Look at us, what we are doing. I feel really like, oh no.
Oh my goodness.
We're seeing what OBM is doing.
You have no idea.
It motivates me in a way. But at the same time, I am like, okay, now I have to step up, man. Look at her, man. With working at so many different jobs and still spending a time. And I would say that
it's a labor of love.
Inviting your team members, that has a more connection to me. The effort you put in, I know for certain it's difficult to arrange for an event, go for an event. Those things you put on your
Oh, I Ubered people here. I made it happen.
Yeah. And I see that I'm like, this is something that this is resonating with the values what you say, Shannon, obviously. So I am like, okay, what she talks, what she does, okay, it's completely aligned.
The only thing that I'm struggling with, there's a couple of things that I'm struggling with, but I think the biggest things that I struggle with are that I can't make things happen fast enough, and I don't have control over everything. And that is, again, my problem is relinquishing control and just leaning into this experience, because I've said it 100 times, I don't want to resent this experience. I want every day to remind myself that it's all a part of the process and that there are going to be difficult things that happen throughout this, but every single difficult thing that's come up, I've been able to overcome. It's really inconvenient and really frustrating and disappointing in the moment, but I feel like every time I overcome that thing, I've gained that much more confidence, and I've gained that much more sense of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had all of these feelings of, I don't know what I'm doing, and this is not the right thing for me. And now, just in the last couple of months, this is absolutely what I'm supposed to be doing.
No, in a way, have you ever, do you have any other organization which might be your, what's the right word to use, which you look up to, or which you see that, okay, after 10, 15 years, OBM might be like this kind of organization.
I
Not
mean,
identically, but
yeah.
I understand. Yeah. So,
I think the example that I used earlier, like Big Brothers, Big Sisters,
okay.
I think that's a charitable organization. And the reason why that organization stands out to me is because as a child who was in and out of foster care and had, different people who were supporting me in my life, I didn't have a consistent parental unit or consistent parental structures. So the people who I leaned on the most were my teachers and like the children's services workers and, the people that were advocating for me as a child. And so I think that mirroring a lot of OBM's mentorship matching ideally would be just as impactful, and hopefully eventually in 10 or 15 years will be just as widespread across Canada, where we have mentorship matching across all of our large cities, similar to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Canada.
That's why I asked is, you need to check into their organization growth as such.
Yeah.
Because I tend to be hard on myself also, because I'm with you. I am like, we are not achieving things fastly.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned is most of an organization, they took a couple of years to stand on their own as such. So I don't know. Yeah, even though I understood what you say, but I want to share this with you. You need to look into the...
And this is just it, right? Like, I'm the kind of person that's like, no, I want to pick up the guitar and just know how to play the guitar. I don't want to spend 10,000 hours learning how to play the guitar. I just want to know how to do it. So when I've been hitting these roadblocks where it's like, I don't know how to do, like, I don't know how to build a website. Well, what have I been doing for the last 3 months? I'm teaching myself AI. I'm teaching myself video editing. I'm on Canva. I'm on CapCut. I've got every video editing app, imaginable. And another thing I'm doing?
Yeah.
Every day I'm watching something that teaches me something new. So every single day I make a concerted effort to watch something where I'm learning something new that day, even if it's just something as small as this button that you click on CapCut is going to make this happen to the font or whatever. Like, I'm intentionally seeking skills and knowledge that I've never historically before been so driven to gain the skills and knowledge necessary in order to keep up with technology and the way of the future. Like, we were talking before we started recording about my interest in AI, and I think like if we don't jump on board, like, we'll be left in the dust. So
for sure. Thank you for answering that, for sure.
No problem. No, thank you. Well, listen, we are coming up on 2 hours, if you can believe it.
No?
Right?
I feel like it's been 13 minutes,
like
15 minutes. But I think he's tired.
Oh, he's not tired. He's just giving me, he's got a little paper over there. But yeah. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here, being a part of these sort of beginning days of OBM, it's been really nice to have someone that I feel like understands what I'm going through. And you know, it's not every day that you start a not-for-profit. It's not every person on the planet who's like, yeah, I'm going to start a not-for-profit today. So I feel very blessed to have met you, and I'm so grateful that you extended the olive branch on LinkedIn and that we've now been able to establish this friendship. I'm going to go out on a limb and say friendship. I'm really looking forward to meeting your son, because I would love to have him on the mic so that we can talk to a 6-year-old about what it's like to have a CEO as a dad. And I am just so fascinated in understanding how little humans observe adults and how that, you know, I'm just really excited. I think that we're going to have a couple of opportunities to have some more episodes in the future. And
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So if I have to have a thankful note in a way, I would say you are the only person other than Oneness in a way that who started in this past 1 year or 2 year, and having OBM beside me to walk together as such, it gives me a immense strength as such. You know, it's been difficult for me past couple of months for so many reasons as such. But whenever I see your post, your comment or something, it always like boosts me. Okay, we started together. Okay, she is doing her best. So now I have to start moving forward so that we can support each other in a way that, because our both the missions at the end of the day for a community, for a larger audience. And if we are not going to be holding each other and moving forward, then we can't expect anyone to support us as such.
Nobody in the history of the world was successful on their own. You have to have people around you and supporting you and you know, believing in you. Okay, so one last thing. We kind of end off the podcast with talking about one positive thing and one maybe thing that you struggled with that week. So we call it the olive and the pit. So the pit is the negative thing and the olive is the positive thing. So can you tell me, what were you grateful for this week, and what was one thing that you really struggled with this week?
I would say gratefulness would be, yesterday I took my son to Canada Wonderland.
Nice!
I wanted to take him for 2 to 3 months as such. I couldn't do it. And obviously I want to add second thing as this. I needed this. Sitting and listening to you and your journey and picking your brain. It's something which is like much needed energy and positivity for me. So I'm really glad that this is a grateful thing, what I would say. And obviously being alive.
Yeah, of course. Our 2 feet and a heartbeat and our brains in between our ears. Yeah.
In terms of something I would say which
that you struggled with this week.
I struggled with would be, I'm trying to start a diet. Like 10th time or 20th time in my life.
What diet are you? Are you following paleo or keto or anything like that?
Eating mindful.
Okay.
Not following some kind of diet. Because the way you see, I'm like a huge.
Oh,
you guys
God.
cannot see it, but I'm really huge.
He's very tall, so that makes him big.
Yeah.
He's not big.
Yeah, so in a way that I've tried, that's something that I'm trying. It's, that initial, as a healthcare professional, that actual body fights you as such in terms, it's asks you to eat or eat chocolate or biscuits. So that's something that I'm struggling with. And at times I lose. I just give up on that. So that's something I'm struggling. But I'm going to be, especially after seeing Ryan.
Oh my God.
How smart he is. I'm like, if only I can be like Ryan, like when he must be, I don't know how old is he, but if
how old do you think he is? He's probably blushing over there. How old do you think Ryan is?
I would say 40.
40, okay, that's pretty good. He's 44. How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 33.
33, okay. I just turned 37. So we're a little bit of a mix here.
In a way, when I say 40, it's in the good way, because something, Ryan, for us, in Islamically or religiously, 40 is something has some kind of uniqueness towards the age 40.
Okay.
So
because you are not so young as a 20-year-old that you're immature, and you're not struggling at 30 because you're still trying to get your ducks in a row, but by 40, you've been there, you've lived, you've had a few, experiences that have taught you.
And you make less blunders.
Yes.
You tend to hurt less people when you attain 40. Also, that if you know about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he got prophethood when he turned 40.
Wow.
And most of the prophets, I think so, they were able to, obviously, amazing Jesus. Jesus would be, peace be upon him. I think so. He passed on, or he elevated when he was 30 years.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the 40 is amazing.
40 is a special. Well, I turned 40 in 3 years, so let's throw a big party when that happens.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. I don't know how to spot that, but yeah. Yeah. Same question I'm going to ask you before we get to this. One positive thing, one.
Okay, one positive, the olive in the pit.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the pit. Struggled this past weekend with observing some relationship dynamics with a very good friend of mine. I have a really hard time, I am very protective of the people that I love. And, she's been a good friend of mine for a really long time. And I had to observe, or actually sort of be immersed into, a not so great experience between her and her partner. And that, was really hard because I want nothing but happiness and, for her and her kids and to see them struggling. So I'm specifically mentioning this because I want her to hear this and I want her to know that I love her and that I will support her in whatever it is she decides to do. But it was the pit of my week because it's the pits when you see the people that you love struggling. And I know that there are things that she could be doing differently to make the situation better. So that was a pit for me. Now, the olive for me. What was the olive for me this week? Okay, well, I'm going to say this, of course, because I'm still very new to this whole, podcasting thing. But having the opportunity to sit down with you again. And I also had a really amazing meeting this morning. I met with another professor. We actually both teach at Conestoga and Fanshawe. Shout out Shannon Frizzle. Yes, another Shannon. And she's actually on LinkedIn, and I know quite a few students engage with her on LinkedIn. So I had a really incredible meeting with Shannon this morning, and I just love those interactions with people very similar to our interaction, where it's like, that you're my kind of person, and that we have similar morals and values. And so I had that experience with Shannon this morning, and she really helped me sort of solidify that some of the ideas that I have for the website and stuff are good ideas. So that was good for me because leading up to today, I've been feeling like I just want to light everything on fire and walk away because I've had a pretty frustrating week. But having that meeting with Shannon this morning and now sitting down with you and just what do I say? Just sinking into this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing feeling. That was my olive. That's been my olive today. Today has been the olive that I needed. The olive on top of the martini or whatever you want to call it.
And God bless your friend, and God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So listen, everybody, this is the All of You podcast, the podcast where we sit down with all of you. We extended the olive branch today to Syed and the Oneness Education Foundation. Thank you so much, Syed. It's been a pleasure. Please come back anytime.
Very soon. Yeah.
Awesome.
God,
cheers.
Take care.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye.